Ba-dum-bum. Okay, I don't know what that was or why we're, okay. Hi, these are a bunch of thrillers that I'm trying to motivate myself to read, so I thought I would enlist you all to help me. And then I realized they all have a similar theme. Trapped together. Close proximity, all in one room, all in one house, all in one RV. Ship of Fools. How effective is this method in building tension? Like, what ways can you build tension with this? Who does it best? How does it work best? When does it fail? Starting off with a YA, our girl Holly Jackson, Good Girls Guide to Murder, up there. 5 Survive is her new release. It's 6 people trapped in an RV together, or they're like in an RV in the middle of nowhere. Then I have, 9 Perfect Strangers by Leanne Moriarty, which is 9 people going to a health resort together. But listen, Leanne, why is this book, I'm not gonna spoil myself right now, 500 pages, Leanne. This is a thriller. It doesn't need to be 500 pages. Who is your editor? Then I have the guest list, which again is people invited to a remote island together. The bride, the plus one, the best man, the wedding planner, and the bridesmaid. I don't know why I haven't read this yet. I've owned this for like a year and a half. I'm gonna start off with Miss Holly Jackson over here because the words are so well spaced and I just need, my eyes need a break. So, yes. Okay, I will see you on the page. You know it's YA when somebody starts playing 20 questions. Okay, so we're starting out, somebody has a secret. Shocking. Okay, my dishwasher's currently in the loudest cycle it's ever been in ever. So sorry about that. I'm about 20 pages in. We're already establishing potential of an unreliable narrator, drama. Something bad has happened to the character in the past, and then it's also kind of establishing the character's relationships to each of the people and giving one little anecdote. I will say with these kind of things, it's hard to keep track of all the people. So initially off the bat, it's kind of difficult to get into because it's difficult to attach to all of the characters, but I think the interesting characterization of the main POV is kind of saving the initial intrigue. It's like, ooh, what's up with her? Somebody's mom is a lawyer, and the mom has the case with the mafia. You don't introduce the mafia and then not bring that back. So, hello, beautiful people. It is the next day, and I am on page 80 of this banger. Okay, we are starting thoughts. It's interesting because there is an external threat introduced right away. I always, in these kind of situations, look for people who are actually making tangible moves. So if someone or has the opportunity to make tangible moves, not what people are saying, because everybody's a liar, frankly. What I'm talking about is people who are maybe driving a car or who are in charge of a map, went to go check something. Oh, I should update you. They're in the middle. No, maybe I shouldn't. Do you want to know? No, you don't. You want to be, I need to decide in this moment. I'm not going to spoil 6 books for you. That'd be crazy time. As one might suspect, in the RV, they've been stranded somewhere, and an external threat that's very visible, very apparent and threatening has arrived. So I think that's supposed to distract us, but I'm not going to be distracted. So the pattern I'm suspecting is first they're all focused on this external threat, and then something happens where they all start to turn on, or there's a suspicion planted that it's voiced that, well, maybe one of us is not who they say they are. Initial suspicion. There's also a good amount of suspicion on everybody right now. There's little by the by comments of oh, she was looking out the window for too long. I noticed that she was looking out there she was thinking about something else. So now it's gonna get all paranoia, suspicion. Let's dredge out everybody's secrets. If you've ever seen that episode of Doctor Who with David Tennant called Midnight, where he's on that train and it's like a psychological like moment, this is like what this book is like, and I'm here for it. Holly Jackson knows how to write a book. That's all I have to say. I'm not done, but I'm stressed. Hello, I did just finish the book. I would say I was 80% right. I didn't know the whole story, but I think I did. Okay, Holly Jackson, listen, you need to write better endings. Now it's a pattern, okay? I require hugging, not me personally. I require the characters to hug, okay? Hugged, and I needed them to, so work on that. In all of your books, you know who you are. But what I think from this one, I think that this kind of a premise acts as a really good hook, because every thriller needs a really good hook in order to sell, in order to get published. It needs that like, oh my gosh, we're trapped in a camper together, you know, kind of a thing. And then that provides a good vessel for the actual plot. I thought it was interesting that the mafia ended up being like the good guys, question mark. It's interesting when there are multiple books that an author writes where the morals get kind of shaky at the end, where it's like what happened doesn't really sit totally right with you. Makes you wonder about Miss Holly, what's going on over there. I'd say my favorite part was definitely when they're all turning on each other, like the inner power struggle of tension. We're gonna have to see how it stands up in comparison to the other ones though. This blanket has my book I wrote printed on it. I'll link where I got it down below. But yeah, I got it for myself as a present when I started querying, more specifically when I got my first rejection, especially with writing. If you're trying to be traditionally published, it is so hard, and gathering the courage and the work required for each stage of the process is so important, and getting rejections is something that every author is going to get if you're going traditionally published, and you're going to get it a lot. So I celebrated getting my first official rejection because that means I'm a working author, right? That's a tangent because I'm a little avoiding this book. It's like an island wedding kind of mystery murder situation. I like work in the wedding industry, very part-time, and also the book I'm currently writing, I'm not going to give away too much, but it's in the wedding space. So I think if I would have like realized that earlier, I probably would have like read it sooner. So I'll just like drop in with my wedding knowledge as an insider in the biz. Sorry, I put lime juice in this just to feel something. This is a 6 POV book, which is too many. I'm beginning to formulate a theory, not about this book. I mean, I have a few, but I haven't read all the POVs yet. It's not really that the author's so good at the twist, but they present you so many options that you get confused, and there's enough suspicion on each person where the details start to get muddled between all of the people. And so it's less about like this brilliant twist and more about you're confusing the audience so much that they aren't able to like decipher between what's important and what's not. We'll see if there's enough information given to make like an actual educated guess, or to keep the tension alive. I think oftentimes when there's so many POVs, it gets really overwhelming because you're trying to keep track of everybody, and that can kind of pull you out of the moment. So we'll see if she can walk the line. What? So we're getting like the motivation that each person could potentially have. But the problem is I don't actually know what the crime is yet. But you know, there's a motive for something nefarious, right? The venue planner wants to get the venue on the map, right? They're struggling with business. This is a high profile wedding. The bride has apparently an arson problem. There's just a lot of information and all of the narrators kind of feel the same. No tea, no shade, Lucy Foley, but it's kind of slow. This is slower than my usual reading rate. Let's amp up the tension. There's been no crimes. There's been no violence. That sounds like maybe I shouldn't want that, but we're in a thriller, Lucy. Thank you, and good night. I don't know what time it is, but I know that I'm about 150 pages into this book, and if you're gonna ask me what's happened in the book, the answer is nothing. It's like really nothing. Like really nothing. And each chapter is like, ooh, I'm gonna have a really in-depth conversation with someone I don't know. And in this conversation, I'm gonna reveal just enough to be suspicious, but not enough to answer any questions about my character, who I am, or why that makes me suspicious with this specific crime. We don't even know what the crime is. There should be something happening. I guess it's more of a murder mystery than it is a thriller, which is fine. I think there could still be some more like something happening. I guess I haven't read a lot of straight up murder mysteries, so maybe that's the name of the game. But we don't even know what's been done. How can you have whodunit if no one's who'd been done, you know? Good morning. It is 9 o'clock in the a.m. I know I need to finish this book. I really just like don't want to read it. Like I don't not want to read it. I'm very indifferent towards this book. I think the problem that I have always had with this type of book, which you are watching a vlog of me reading just this type of book. So as a writer, I feel like I can justify anybody being the killer. Like they drop any piece of information and I'm like, yeah, I could buy it. And so the twists to me are never that impressive. And so I think for me, these books just like really fall flat unless the character connections and development is really real and really strong and I'm rooting for certain characters and you can make me buy into certain characters. Because right now with this one, they're all like a little sus and none of them are really like amazing people, which is fine. Like I can get invested in a character who's flawed, but they're just kind of unrealistic. Like, would you really go to an abandoned cave on an island with someone that you don't know or you know like very, very like you're very much an acquaintance of them and have like a deep personal conversation about all of your past loves? Like, that wouldn't happen. Fine, I'll read this book now. Also, I feel like a very common cop-out not cop-out, well, kind of, that a lot of thrillers do. Back when we were in school, a group of us did something bad, but we only did it because everybody in the school did it. But because we were drunk, things went a little bit too far, and we accidentally traumatized or killed someone, and now it's coming back to haunt us years later. And I'm like, that's not very creative of you. I feel like it's one of those things where like the proportion of people in books who have some like past school secret thing they did to like the percentage of people in real life is like really off. Also, why are all the thriller authors British? I don't think I've read an American thriller. Like every time I finish a thriller, I'm like, oh, let me look at the author. And they're always from frickin' Britain. Whatever. Everything has to be so sexual in adult thrillers, and I just like sometimes need a break. Wow. Okay, ooh. This look of shock is not because anything actually happened in the book. It's because as a person who works in the wedding industry, this bride is a nightmare. Yeah, you're the one getting married. There's a whole schedule to be had. Like, what? They really said, what is every possible trauma I could give? And then just like handed it out like it was candy. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, so that is wild actually. Good job, Lucy. Good job. That's the only thing though. If you've ever seen someone give a speech while like very intoxicated, it's one of the most stressful experiences. And it's like I'm just having that experience over and over and over again, which is exciting for me. Who I didn't see that coming. Okay, I'll admit it. I didn't see it coming. We're not even done yet. So I finished the book. I thought the last third of the book was good. I know that it wouldn't have been had we not had all of the stuff from the first 2/3 of the book, but I think there's a way we could have layered that into a more interesting setup. But I would say I was like 80%, 70% right. But I was not shocked by anything. There was like one thing that was shocking. And the rest of it, I was like, yeah, okay. 5 Survive, very suspenseful. Could have used a little bit more suspicion and clues. Lucy, the guest list, kind of the flip of that. No suspense, but it was really well thought out. Hello. It is currently Friday, and I feel the need to apologize to Leanne Moriarty. I don't know why I would go into a book thinking that it's not going to be good. Like, what a horrible attitude. So we're going to flip that on its head. Fine, I will, okay? Is that what you wanted? Let me know what you think about this angle, because I'm just trying to just spice up me reading in multiple different chairs. Hi, I would like to issue a formal apology to Leanne. I'm like 60 pages in and I'm very intrigued. Like, ooh, I didn't ooh. So we're following roughly 3 characters right now who are all going to this health retreat, but the health retreat, all the signs are there. All the bad signs are there. It's very much like a detox kind of thing where there's no sugar, dairy, carbs, electronics, any of that stuff, like whatever seems like a basic, like check yourself into a health retreat kind of thing. These are all things that like could be incorporated into like a real health retreat, but I'm getting sketch vibes and I like it. What I would say that this book is doing better than for sure the guest list. I'm feeling an actual connection to all of the characters. I don't necessarily like them, but you spend enough time with each of them to actually get to know them while also keeping me invested in the overarching plot. Like, I think this is what the guest list was trying to do. And there's this overall sense of like dread of like something bad is gonna happen at this retreat. Like, they dropped in this thing where she like read the reviews and half of them are like, oh my gosh, this health retreat is great. And the other half is like get out while you can. And I'm like, the suspicion, the drama. I'm like genuinely stressed. Leanne is really putting me through the ringer and she hasn't even done it yet. Like, my pulse is like rising. And it's different because in 5 Survive, bad things were already happening right away. So there was no like build up to it. It was like chapter 3 and there was a sniper. That's on the back of the book, so it's not a spoiler. the guest list, like nothing really happened at all. Like it was such a slow burn that it wasn't suspenseful. Like you knew there was going to be a body and it was pretty clear who it was going to be. This is definitely like a thriller mystery, whereas before I think I read a thriller and then a mystery. You know what I mean? We on the same page? Okay, time to read. And it's just so ominous. It's so ominous. Why do all these thrillers feel the need to talk about sex? People are just thinking about it all of the time. Like, do people really think like this? Don't answer that. I don't want to hear So I just finished this little number. Frankly, I'm just confused. But I'm not really confused because everything was wrapped up really well, but it like wasn't, I guess it was. At the heart of this type of book, this trope of the ship of fools, of putting a bunch of people together in the same room or the same place, the same island, the same retreat, whatever. It's weird. I'm feeling like this did it the best in the terms of that I actually cared about all of the characters and felt like I knew enough about all of the characters, and all of the stakes and intrigue were really good all throughout, but the ending really threw me. Not the ending, like is it even a twist? It didn't feel like it was a twist. It was like a psychological slow burn. Like there was no moment where I was like, oh, what? Like where everything flipped on its head. It just like slowly escalated and continued to escalate. And just continued to escalate. 9 Perfect Strangers. I did like it more than I thought I was going to. Hi everyone, it's been about a week. I think that this was actually ended up being a really good sampling. First of all, we have a little bit of mix of length, and then we had a YA in there too. So we got to see it in kind of 3 different settings. So what did we learn? What are the conclusions? What are our thoughts? Overall, I need a break from close proximity thrillers, and I've definitely taken one. But just to like give a general overview on the differences, this one was very much contained in a room, kind of a thriller, a closed door thriller, if you will. A set number of hours. The suspicion, you can't escape from the suspicion by going into a different room. You can't escape the suspicion by texting somebody about it. Like you are all within the same space. An external threat is brought in, and then suspicion is thrown on a couple of people, and then it battles out from there, right? Other things. Yes, then we had the guest list, which they're trapped on an island together, not necessarily in one room, but you still get this setup of introducing all of the characters, throw in an external threat, everything. And also with this one, it was much, much more murder mystery, right? So then we have Leanne Moriarty's 9 Perfect Strangers, which was, it's kind of a mix of location. So it's larger than the RV, but it's smaller than the island. It's on this campus. Like, it's not about finding the person responsible. Like with this one, you know who the person responsible is. It's about dealing with the circumstances that you're in and how to work together with a strange group of people. Whereas this one was trying to figure out who is the villain. And this one was a little bit of both, actually. And shockingly enough, I think my favorite of the 3 was 5 Survive. Right, so you're balancing character, external tension, and internal tension. With this one, the external tension did not feel high at all. The internal tension was fine, and the characters were really, really fleshed out. With this one, the external tension was crazy huge. The character development was really great, but the internal tension of the group wasn't as big of a factor. And this one definitely, the external tension was the biggest out of all of them, definitely. And then the internal tension was so good also. Like those two were almost on even footing. But then the characters, it was still fleshed out and fine, but it suffered a little bit because there wasn't enough time. It was so fast paced that there wasn't quite enough time to get into each and every character. But this one, what I really appreciate about Five Survive is that, yes, the external tension was there. Yes, the team, like the moments where the people inside the van were turning on each other and like pushing each other out of the van, like those moments, I was so stressed, and I was there, and I was in the moment, I was in the mood. And then the ending actually worked. It took everything that was presented throughout the book and it made it important. It didn't just throw it in. Whereas I think a couple of times in Nine Perfect Strangers, the internal tension was really good, or I was like, my heart was racing, but the way that the book ended didn't bring everything into it. Like it didn't pack as much of a punch. All of these books were good. I would actually recommend reading all of them except for maybe The Guest List. I think one thing that I find to be a fault in a lot of thrillers is throwing in trauma for the sake of a red herring. Like there is so much trauma in this book that is just thrown in there, not fully addressed, or I feel like respected, and then used as kind of a means to an end. Actually, Nine Perfect Strangers deals with a couple of the same issues, but I felt like because it was longer, you really got to, I felt like it was handled in a much more nuanced way just because of the page space. My three main takeaways to apply to really all thriller writing or all writing in general is that suspense plays off of character rather than circumstance. So like the reason that I was stressed and I felt a lot of suspense in Five Survive when an external threat was presented wasn't because the external threat shocked me so much or was so terrifying. It was because of the way that it impacted the character tensions that it had. When you take these characters and their specific backgrounds and this like trauma that you know that they have, and you put that all together, like that's what created the suspense. So what I'm gonna take from it is, in order to get the suspense to be impactful, it first has to be impactful to the character. You have to be more worried about the character than the threat itself. I know that that's pretty obvious, but it's something that really was highlighted through reading this type of book. The thrillers that I write are not closed door thrillers. They are not like really in that style at all. And so I hadn't really prioritized reading a lot of thrillers like that in that vein because it doesn't correlate exactly with the type of book that I write, but it taught me a lot about suspense and what kind of suspense isn't working and what kind does work for me. I mean, you could read these three books and have a completely different order. Take this as your sign to read in your genre of what you're writing. I know this was a different kind of style of video, so let me know down below if this is the style that you like. I've got a couple more investigative videos that I'm working on right now, but you can always catch a vlog from me. You know I love a good writing vlog. So, hit that subscribe button, comment down below, drop a like. I'll see you in the next one.